Okay, so this is session 3 of the programming guide. So today we're going to be looking at selection. And that is basically asking questions. The only selection that you need to worry about in this course is the if command. So basically, it allows you to ask a question and then based on the answer, it'll perform different code. So let's have a look then. Here's an example of one. So we've got x equals 10. If x is greater than 5, which it is, then print high, else print by. So you can see here that we've got an if command asking a question. Then if it's true, we print high. And this would be the true section and this would be the false section. You do not always have to have an else, okay? You could just not have it and then it would just, if it wasn't true, it would do nothing. Now, this is an important point. So I don't know if I've mentioned this so far to talk about the different things you're going to see, because you're going to see like Python like this and pseudocode like this. And what pseudocode is, because the course, doesn't specifically state you have to learn Python, you can learn a few languages and they're all a bit different. So they're going to use this sort of universal written language in the exam. You can write your answers in Python code, but I'm trying to make you aware that if they write something to you, like a bit of code to fill in, it might look a little different. It's nearly always very obvious. But just here you can see they've got then, else, end if, like this. And you'll see in a minute the difference in Python. So I'm going to show you as we go along. But just so you understand, that's why you see these two different versions of pseudocode and then Python. So here it is in Python, okay? So I'm asking them to enter their age, excuse me, and I'm casting it to an integer, as we should have done that last lesson, so because obviously it will come in as a string. I then check if it's greater than or equal to 18. If it is, I print you're old enough. Otherwise, I print you're too young, right? Simple. So this is how an if statement works. It's got if at the start, and then there is the condition. Now, this will basically return true or false. So you might note there I've used double equals. Now, when you're testing if something is the same as something else, you use two equals. You use one equals when you're making name equal to Steve, but when you're checking if name is equal to Steve, you use two equals. It's easy to forget that. And then it ends with a colon. This is in Python, by the way. So if, test, and colon, right? And the colon is a bit that's going to tell you that there's some code coming up that isn't always executed. So when there's a colon, there's sort of like a subpart of code. So look here, I've simplified the code from before, so there is no else. So if you look here, you're still getting the input. We do if age is greater than or equal to 18 and colon. Now in Python, how the computer knows which bits of code are part of the if statement is that they're tabbed in. And when I say tabbed in, I mean I've actually pressed the tab key. You'll probably notice when you code it that it automatically tabs you in. But what I mean is there's a gap here, you see. So if you look here, this line is part of this if statement after this colon. But this line will happen no matter what. So here I entered 6. So it didn't do this bit because 6 is not greater than or equal to 18. But it still did this. So I'm just going to quickly go to there and show a couple of bits. I'll delete that out. So let's say x equals 5. If x is greater than 5, colon. And you'll notice that the compiler here has tabbed me in. Okay, automatically. Print this is in the if. Okay, so all of this, if I then said x is now equal to 10, that's part of the if. If I said x equals x times 2, that's part of the if. As soon as I go back to here, I'll do print not in if. Okay. Now, what a lot of students, I still ask students to get that. Like, okay, so these three commands will only happen if that's greater than 5, which it isn't because 5 is not greater than 5. So this all that will be printed is not in if. If I change it to 50, then it will print it. Okay. Obviously, these don't do anything but change x, so they didn't print anything. I could print x if you want, just to have some naturally more code. So all these 4 lines are part of that if because they're all lined up and tabbed in. There you go, it's now 20. So you can't, once you've gone back to the left like this, you can't then go, right, I'll tab in and go print in if. It's not. That actually is an error. You can see it's underlining it already and it won't like it. It will say unexpected indent. Because you can only indent after a colon. Anytime you see a colon, there'll be an indentation. Now, once you go back to the left, that's the end of that if. That if is done, if is finished now. And it's just the same with the else. So if I put else, let's just do random something else. There you go. So notice here, it's the same thing. The ones tabbed in here are part of the if. Then there's a colon for the else. Now the else does go back onto the left. It lines up with the if. And then these are tabbed in. And once again, this command is not in the if or the else. And at that point, the if is over. There you go. So that happens either way, okay? So they're tabbed in to allow them. Think of it as like everything tabbed in is just part of that. And after every colon, there'll always be some tabbing. It will probably automatically do it, but if you're in the exam or whatever, it's, you know, you've got to remember to write it sort of, you know, slightly tabbed in. It's a bit weird, Python, because most other languages do it this way. They have these curly braces like this. So other languages would normally look like this, which I prefer just because it's a bit easier, because it doesn't really matter how you lay it out as long as they're in between. So that's what other languages do, and you often see that. Most other languages do that except Python. I don't know why Python's different. But and a lot of people online complain that they just allow this and not have that weird colon. But there you go. I don't know what you prefer. I prefer this because it's just, you know, because then you don't have to have things tabbed in, or you can even have things on the same line like that if you wanted to. But obviously in Python you can't, and so we're learning Python because it is the easiest language. So there you go, or one of the easiest languages. So right, go back to the slide. Okay, so that's that. The tab key, by the way, is there next to the Q. It might not have tab on it. It might have sort of a couple of arrows on it, but it's next to Q. So there it is in pseudocode. You notice in pseudocode, they have a then and an end if. So if you compare that to that, if you're old enough, and then they have then, they do the stuff, and then end if. It's not very different. We'll go through that a bit more later. We're really just trying to learn Python at the moment, but in the exam, that would be how they display it to you. If you were writing code, you can write it like this. But when they write a bit of code to give to you and say finish it, it will be in pseudocode so that everyone understands it no matter what language they learn. There you go. So we've seen else already, but just understand that this is the true section. This is the false section. So this test being, is this test true? We do this, otherwise we do that. And then what other tests are there? This will be on the sheet anyway. But at the moment, we've done greater than and equal to. But here are the tests. So you've got equals, there's double equals. So that would be A equals B. You've got not equals, is an exclamation mark equals. So that means not equal to. So if I wanted to say if the password is not equal to expected password, print error or something like that. That's less than equal to, greater than equal to. Quite obvious. They don't have these symbols that math use, so they sort of use two in a row for the ones. There you go. So that's the tests, but they're on the sheet, so you can look at them. Okay, now what if you want to do multiple checks at the same time? So there are two commands you can use, and you can keep using them. You can keep going and or, and as long as one of them, you know, if you use an or, then only that one has to be true. But and or can be annoying, but don't worry too much. I'm just going to explain it now. So here we get a score between 0 and 10, or we ask them for a score between 0 and 10. 0 and 10. And then we check. If S is greater than or equal to 0 and S is less than or equal to 10, then print your score is valid, else print invalid score. So here we're trying to make sure they've entered a number between 0 and 10, including 0 and 10. That's why I've used the greater than equals to and less than equals to. So that's an and. See, both of those things have to be true. It is very common, I'll go back here, for kids to do this, just set a score. Assume I did enter score. They'll go if S greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 10. They forget to put the variable again because they think they're always checking S. And the reason why you put the variable again is because let's say you're having a game where you go if key press, and we'll just do shoot key, right? And ammo greater than 0. Okay, so now we're checking if they press the key for shoot and they've got bullets, but they're not the same variable. This is a function asking if they press the key. This is a variable called ammo, you know, so the tests are all individual in the end. So you need to put the variable both times. Yeah, like that. And the same with or. Look, so here I get a username. If username equals Steve123 or username equals Dave321, access granted. So you can use or and. Now, it is possible to use lots of ands and or, but remember, like, you might need to use brackets like you would, because if you want that and that or something else, you know, or weapon equals melee or something like that, I don't know, or whatever you want to do. But remember that you might need to bracket things up. This will not probably come up in your exam, so don't worry too much. But and if you're doing an if statement with multiple conditions, like maybe 3 or more, you should probably maybe do it on more than one line. Just one other thing you can do, which is elif. I don't know if I actually mentioned that in here. I don't. I'll add that after. In fact, I'll add it now while you're watching, so you can see me add it, which is elif, okay? And elif is else if. And this can be quite good because, let's just put it there, because else if. What it allows you to do is allows you to do, if membership is gold, do this. Else, if it's silver, do this. Else, do this. So let's say they had a gold, silver, bronze membership. So they can either be gold, silver, and bronze. So they can't, you know, once you've eliminated, are they gold, are they silver? They have to be bronze. So it's quite good. I'll edit that after, but I'll show you an example where it's quite clear. So I'm going to do MT for membership type equals input, bronze, silver or gold. I'm just going to do that, obviously, because I'm going to run out of room. So they would enter bronze, silver or gold as BS or G, okay? Then you would go if MT equals G, print free entry, because gold members are free, apparently. And then elif, because there's no reason to just do an if. It's actually better code, because once I know you think, well, you could just do if it's silver. You could just do if MT equals silver. And then that would work. Print, I say it's £1, I don't know, £4 for silver. And then but the problem is, I then can't, I'd have to, you know, or if MT equals bronze. But I am kind of pointlessly checking if it's silver, because if it's gold, I know it's not silver. So really good programming would be trying to limit these pointless checks. So you would do elif MT equals silver, print 4, else print £10. Now, there's no need to do a final check, because we can assume that if they didn't write S or G, they wrote bronze. You could do elif, but elif MT equals B, but you know, either way, it depends on what you want to do. So you can see there that you can use elif, which is else if. So it's like saying, you ask a question, otherwise let's ask another question. Okay, so have a go at the sheet, and then you can finish this section.